Well, 'tis the season for allergies, and this season the allergies are really in full force. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Philip Benyo, MD, who is primary care and geriatrics for the Lehigh Valley Health Network. He's also a familiar face right here on SSPTV, seen on It's Your Health. So, Dr. Benyo, great to see you. But boy, these allergies are really out of control this year. Are you seeing a lot of people with allergies in your office?
Lisa, thank you so much for the opportunity to bring to the table our current healthcare problems through SSPTV. And as I tell Sam when I'm on his show, I'm always happy to help him with his ratings. But yes, it's been a banner year for sinus issues and allergies, almost a perfect storm because we sort of didn't really have a real spring and morphed right into the summertime. And if you don't believe me, go out and look at your car after you wash it, because in a day or two, you'll see this green film over the windshield and the hood. And so one of the problems that we face is the nose has more blood vessels in it per unit than almost any other place in your body. And if we look inside the nose, there's a series of what are called turbinates, which resemble cast iron radiators. And of course, keep in mind that the purpose of the nose is to heat and humidify the air. So naturally, when you're breathing in these allergens, they evoke this response where the nose basically starts sweating, kind of like dripping from a cave, and can back up into the ears, down your throat, itchy eyes, pretty typical of allergic rhinitis, we call it. And I don't know of too many patients out there in television land who have not had some degree of allergy symptoms this year.
Now, can allergies be confused with the flu and with COVID?
Usually, if you have an infection, you're going to have some discharge from your nose, which we call mucopurulent, which is another word for pus. Could be green or have a color to it. You might have a fever if infection sets in. But some patients with COVID just simply have the sniffles and runny nose. So it can be very confusing. But of course, that's why we do the COVID testing. I just had a patient this past week who basically said, I think I have allergies, but work won't let me come back unless I get tested. And sure enough, that was his only symptom, and he had COVID. There's a great deal of patients out there who are carrying COVID that have no symptoms. So it's really been a strange year in that regard.
What's the best thing for us to do if we know we have allergies or if we suspect we have allergies?
You might consider the over-the-counter antihistamines. And there's 3 general over-the-counter antihistamines we turn to: Allegra, Claritin, or Zyrtec. They all work equally well. The beauty of them is that they are supposed to be non-sedating. Zyrtec works the fastest. However, it also does have more drug interactions potentially, and it can be more sedating. As a matter of fact, if you're a pilot, you can't take Zyrtec. It's one of those things you cannot take, even though it's supposed to be non-sedating. Now, in the olden days, we used to have Benadryl. And Benadryl, of course, is what's called the first generation of antihistamines. And we don't use it a great deal because it is very sedating. And in the elderly can cause a great deal of other side effects, particularly urinary retention. And so it's on a list of medicines not to be used in the elderly. So I would first of all start with something that's over the counter. Keep in mind that an antihistamine is not a decongestant. A decongestant causes more of the blood vessels to constrict in your nasal passages. For example, they do make Allegra D and Zyrtec D and Claritin D. However, they also will elevate your pulse and blood pressure. You can get a headache and get anxious because the decongestant is a cousin of speed, pseudoephedrine. And one caution I make out there is that you should avoid, under pain of mortal sin, the Afrin type of nasal sprays that are pseudoephedrine. They work very quickly. However, if you use them for more than 3 days, you can become an Afrin junkie because you get a rebound congestion and you're going to be in worse shape than you were before.
Today's news feature is brought to you by Feisner's Ford in Freeland, who is celebrating 75 years in business. Give them a call at 570-636-3920, or you can log on to feisnersford.com.